Morning. Am I audible to you guys? Am I audible to you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So today we will see another different types of classification algorithm. I guess again you guys are already aware of that. First thing I want to discuss is decision tree. So anyone, what is a decision tree? Your ideas? What is a decision tree? I mean, just give me the concept. A tree or flow chart with some conditions, it makes possible outcome in a form of tree. Yes, both of you are correct. So decision tree is supervised or unsupervised? No, decision tree is not unsupervised. Decision tree is supervised. Okay, and it is used both for classification and regression. Okay, so here you will get two types of nodes. Okay, two types of nodes. Okay, one is your decision node and one is your leaf node. So decision nodes are used to make any decision and have multiple branches, and leaf nodes are the output of those decisions and do not contain any further branches. So as you said, it's like a tree structure or a graphical representation of a tree, a representation, and it just provides you the possible solutions to a problem for or based on given conditions. Okay, so in order to build your tree, normally we use an algorithm, classification and regression. Tree algo. Okay, so it is also called CART. Okay, so in order to build tree, we use CART algorithm. Okay, and decision tree simply asks questions, and based on the answers, it further split your tree into different subtrees. Okay, so for example, you are going to have all your database in your root node. Okay, suppose this is your root node. Here you are going to keep all the features or all the data you have. Then based on certain conditions, it's going to divide into split into subtrees. Okay, again there will be certain conditions. Okay, and finally based on some conditions you will get some nodes, and those will be like leaf node. Okay, for leaf node it's just the last node. Okay, maybe there might be some more conditions. This one will be leaf and so on. Okay, so decision tree is sometimes people use it because it's easy to understand and it usually mimic human thinking. Okay, so logic behind decision tree can be easily understood because we just represent it as a form of tree structure. Okay, so for example, suppose you got a job. Okay, so now you have to decide whether you should accept the job or reject the job. So what should be your criteria to select a job? You need to decide whether you should select the job or not. Maybe first thing you should worry about the salary. Maybe salary is your main feature or main condition for you. So maybe you have certain expectation that salary should be greater than something. It's up to you. So if it is less than that, then you are going to decline the offer. And if it is more than the salary or equal to the salary you are expecting, you are going to accept the offer. Then again, you might have some other conditions like whether the office is near to home or not. If no, then again you might decline it. And if yes, maybe you have further criteria, means what should be the other facilities. Okay. So again, if your voice is breaking, maybe because of poor network, it's raining.
No, ma'am, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So again, if you think the facilities are not good, again you might decline your offer, and if you think they are giving good facilities, then you might accept it. Okay, so these are all mainly like yes no things. Okay, so while implementing your decision tree, the main issue arises that how to select the best attribute for the root node and for the subnodes. Okay, so there are certain techniques available to easily select the best attribute for the nodes of the tree. Okay, so these techniques are called attribute selection measure. Or ASM. Okay, because you in some cases you might not be like or you may be confused which one to put in the as a root node. Okay, so there are some techniques to help you to select the best attribute for the root node. So one is the information gain. One is the Gini index. Gini index. So information gain is the measurement of changes in the entropy. Okay, so you will just segment your data based on certain attributes, then you are going to calculate the entropy. And this information gain is based on the measurement of your entropy change. So it calculates like how much information a feature provides about a class. If your feature is not giving you enough information for a class, it will not select that particular feature as a root node. Okay. So according to the value of information gain, we just split the node and build a decision tree. Okay, and decision tree algorithms always try to maximize the value of information gain, and your attribute having the highest information gain is split first. Okay, so there is a particular equation also. It's like information gain is equal to entropy S is your total number of sample minus weighted average into entropy of each feature. Okay, so entropy is a metric to measure the impurity in a given attribute. Okay, it basically specifies any randomness in the data, and you can calculate entropy with the help of suppose probability of yes, so to probability of yes again, then probability of no, and probability of no. Okay, so S is the total sample, yes, probability of yes, and it is probability of no. Okay, so what is Gini index? Gini index is also kind of measure of impurity and purity used while creating the decision tree with the help of your CART algorithm. So an attribute with the low Gini index should be preferred. Okay, so for Gini index, we want the low Gini index preferable, and if you use information gain, we want high gain. Okay, so Gini index basically just creates a binary split, and the CART algorithm uses your Gini index to create the binary split. Okay, so you can equation is like Gini index 1 minus the probability of all this. Okay, so what is the advantage of any decision tree? Since it's easy to understand, it helps us to make like easy decisions for real life problems. And it can be also useful for solving any decision related problems. But there are some disadvantages, like your decision tree has lots of layers. Okay, there will be lots of splitting involved and all. Okay, so it makes the data actually a bit complex. And since it's like a tree, it has like overfitting issues. Okay, so for more class levels and computational complexity, the decision tree like grow like exponentially. Okay, so there are some overfitting issues. So to resolve that overfitting issues, we have another classifier which is random forest. So can you tell me what is random forest? collection of decision tree. Yes, correct. So random forest is kind of ensemble classifier. Ensemble means you just combine multiple classifiers. Okay, ensemble word means combining multiple classifiers. So random forest is just an ensemble classifier that contains numbers of decision tree, and all of this means every, let's choose the best among them. No, it does not select the best tree among them. It basically takes the majority voting. Okay, so there will, it's a collection of decision tree, and each decision tree will have its own decision. Okay, so then it will do a majority voting. So according to the voting system only, random forest will take the final decision. Okay, so like you can say, you just split your training data into some sub training data. So maybe it's your training data 1, training data 2, and you have just separated into different training data. Okay, then for one training data, maybe you are going to use one decision tree. For this one, you are going to use another decision tree. Okay, and so on. And so each of them will have one answer. Okay, each one will give you one result. This one will say this is the class A, this might say this is the class B. Suppose this is uh, class A, this one is also saying class A, maybe somewhere here will be class B, the last one is also class B, and so on. Okay, after that it is going to take a majority voting. Voting means it's basically going to take the average of all the classes. So whatever will be the value, that will be your main prediction. If majority says it's a class A, when you give your new data, it will check for each of the decisions. So if majority of the decision trees are saying it's a class A, then it will decide it's a class A. If a majority of the decision tree are saying that it's a class B, then it will be class B. So it is not going to select the best tree. It is going to take the majority voting. Okay. So why we use random forests? One already told, basically it's like a decision tree 2.0. To solve the overfitting problem, we just combine different decision tree and we use random forest. So it takes less training time because you just divide your training data into subsets. Okay, so and it predicts output with high accuracy even when you use large training data. Okay, and it can also maintain accuracy when a large portion of data is your missing. Okay, so random forest algorithm just start with the random k data points from your training data, then build a decision tree associated with the selected data points, or you can say subsets. So then it will choose n number of decision trees like here, whatever you want to build. So it will be based on you, how much split you want in your database and how many trees are going to be there. So based on the splitting point, you are going to create one decision tree. Okay, and in the end, it will just take the average voting. So random forest is useful for both classification and regression, but it is suitable or more suitable for classification only. Okay, even though it is for both, but it is preferred that it is more suitable for classification not regression task. Okay. Okay. Now let's come to the part of MLP or multi-layer neural network, or also known as your artificial neural network. So you guys have already worked with ANN, so just tell me the concept, what it is.
It is a concept same as human neural networks. Like human neurons, how they work, the same is the means working principle of neural network.
Yes. So correct. Neural network is based on the human brain. So just like the human brain, which consists of lots of dendrites and actions, you can just think about your brain cells like something like this. Okay, it's a bad drawing anyway. So if this is your neuron, there will be dendrites and there will be one axon, right? And there will be some synapses. Synapses means it's the connection to the other neurons. What's the function of dendrite and action? Anyone? What's the part of dendrite and what is the function of action?
এক্সনে মেম এটা নিউৰনৰ পৰা আন এটা নিউৰনলে ডাটাবিলাক ট্ৰেন্সফাৰ কৰে।
আৰু dendrite?
সেইবোৰ যোনটো পাই মানে আহিব বস্তুটো সেইটো কালেক্ট কৰে আৰু বাকী থিংকিং লাইক আৰু কামবিলাক কৰে।
Correct. So dendrite will bring in all the electric signals and action will just pass that information to the other neuron. So similarly, we have a structure. The first thing we know, the neuron-like element is your perceptron. Okay, suppose this is your neuron. So there will be some input. And there will be some connections to the neuron. Okay, so suppose each of these input will have a particular weight. Okay, then neuron will have a particular function which is known as your activation function. Okay, then it will provide the output. Okay, so this single neuron is known as your perceptron. Okay, so each of these input will have a particular weight. So what these weights will define? What is this weights will define? You can just think about these inputs as the features. You have maybe n number of features. So each of these features are going to have certain weights. So weights will define the weightage of a particular features, means how important one particular feature is. Okay, then it will go to the neuron. So neuron will have a activation function. So in normal human brain, what our neuron fires. We say neuron fires whenever it sees anything exciting. So activation function is also like a mathematical function which will have a particular threshold. If the total sum, this is the sum, so it is going to find the sum of all the inputs, weighted input. Okay, then if the sum of weighted input signals is greater than particular threshold, it is going to fire. If not, it is not going to fire. So it will give an output only when your sum is greater than your particular threshold. Otherwise, it will not going to fire. So you can represent the whole equation. Suppose y is the output. We have taken x. Suppose take y and w1. Whenever you want to find the output, always remember you have to multiply input with the weight. It is weighted input. Okay. Summation of x1. There are n neurons, so you will just take, suppose I equal to 1 to n I plus b. There will be a bias. This is a bias. Okay, bias is just a constant. It's like it will decide the plan for an neural network. So neural network is also mainly useful for linearly separable data, but it also works for non-linearly separable. But the first neuron, the perceptron, is built only for the linearly separable data. Okay. So this is the equation of your neural network and you should remember it all the time. Okay. In simple cases, if bias is not given, suppose I am giving you certain problems, then if bias is not given, then just ignore it. You can find x1, w1. Okay. So if I say like input is 2 and weight is like 5, input is 1, weight is 3, suppose this is 3 and this is 1. So what will be the sum? Sum will be 2 into 5 plus 1 into 3 plus 3 into 1. Okay, so whatever the answer is, that is the sum for the neuron. Okay, clear this maths part. So these inputs are your dendrites here. This cell nucleus, or these are nodes, and these are weights are sometimes called as synapses, and this Y output is your action here. So your first perceptron is built only for like on and off thing. It's like for yes and no. If it is greater than threshold, output will be 1. If it is less than threshold, output will be 0. Okay. So your multi-layer perceptron is basically nothing but a network of lots of perceptron. Okay, it's an interconnected network of various neurons or perceptron arranged in some layers. So anyone knows what's the first perceptron name? First perceptron, this basic one, is given by Warren and McCulloch. Okay. So this perceptron is also known as your McCulloch neuron. The perceptron. Okay. Then there are different history. Then first neural network is known as your Adeline. Then there are Madeline network. I will not go to all the parts because last time we have elective subject only in artificial neural network. So in that subject means you just learn about A to Z from all types of neural network. Okay, so I'm just giving you the basic ones. Okay, so in case of MLP or ANN, we have three types of layers. What are the three types of layers? One is your input layer, then your hidden layer, and one is output layer. Okay, for the MLP. Apart from that, your artificial neural network is of two types. Okay, one is feed forward network and other is feedback network. It is based on the topology. Okay, topology wise, there are two types of networks: feed forward and feedback. So your MLP or artificial neural network multi-layer perceptron is a feed forward network. Feedback networks are recurrent neural network and coherent self-organizing network and those. But all the normal neural networks we use are feed forward network. Okay, feed forward network can also be two types: single layer, single feed forward, and multiple feed. Okay, so your MLP is the multiple feed forward network. Okay, if you have single feed forward network, it has only input layer and the output layer. Okay, for multiple you have input layer, you have hidden layer, and the output layer. Okay, so suppose this is a network. So for a single feed forward network, all neurons are interconnected to the other neuron. Okay, this is your single feed forward network. Here this is your input layer and this is the output layer, and there is no hidden layer. And your multiple layer feed forward network or your multi-layer perceptron has three layers. So this is your input layer, this is your hidden layer, and this is your output layer. So got the difference between single layer and multiple layer? These are feed forward. Okay, so when you have feedback network, it something looks like this. Suppose two, then it will again will have a feedback to the previous neurons. Okay, these are recurrent neural networks. So topology wise, there are only two: feed forward and feedback. And again for feed forward, we have two types, single layer and multiple layer. Got it? Got the difference? Ma'am, which case we have the intermediate layer or it doesn't? Intermediate layer means hidden layer. That means MLP. The normal artificial neural network or multi-layer neural network has the hidden layer. Okay, hidden layer does not exist in case of single layer feed-forward network. Single layer. That means no hidden layer. This one. Only input and output. And all the ANN you use till now for the project are basically MLP. MLP or multi-layer feed-forward network, which has three types: input layer, output layer, yes, hidden layer. Okay, got the difference? Hidden layer is also known as your intermediate layer. You can say intermediate layer, but the proper technical name is the hidden layer. Okay, so now as I said, there are different activation functions which will decide the output. That means output of input layer will be the input for the hidden layer. Okay, then again the input of hidden layer, sorry, the output of hidden layer will be the input for the output layer. Okay, so input layers are nothing but the features. If you are giving an image and all the image pixels will be the input for the network. Okay, so hidden layer is going to be the main computation things. Okay, it will basically find out which are the proper features, or if you have provided all the features, it will find the best one. Okay, then it will be given to the output. So output layer will give you the classification result. Okay, so inputs are nothing but all the features you have provided to the network. Hidden layer will do the all the computation part. Okay, and hidden layer can be like, it's up to you how many hidden layers. It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's up to you. It's totally application dependent. But one thing you should remember is if you increase the hidden layer, the complexity of the model will be increased greatly. Okay, so you have to try that you should be able to do with a bit less number of hidden layers. So minimum level is like 2 or 3. Okay, people can go for 5, and sometimes if your database is very large, then you can go for up to 10. Okay, so based on the amount of data you have and the diversity of features, you can increase your hidden layers. Okay, and output layer will only give you the classification result. Okay, whatever computation the hidden layer will do, it will be provided to the output layer. Then output layer will give you the classification result. Okay. Okay, so now, as I said, activation function is like the main mathematical function which will decide when to fire and not fire. There are so many features for your network. Then some features might be useful and some might not be useful. So only for the good features the neuron will fire. Okay. Now, how will it understand which feature is good and which feature is not good? Okay, the activation function will trigger each of the stage. That means for this neuron also, there will be activation function. For this neuron also, activation function and all. Sorry, input layer, there will not be any activation function. It's just giving you the raw features. Input means just the raw features. The hidden layer will have activation function. This is just like a single hidden layer. So this will decide which feature should be fire a neuron. So maybe you have like 10 neurons, maybe only 5 of them are firing. That means only 5 neurons are important to decide the class. Rest of the 5 are not firing because it did not pass the threshold level. Okay. So based on the output of the hidden layer, it will give it to the output layer, then it will just give you the class. Okay, this meeting is going to end soon, so I'll just stop here. We will continue the neural network part tomorrow. Okay, so I hope the basic thing is clear. We will come to the mathematical part tomorrow, means how it exactly works. Is it clear till now? Can just stop sharing, switch on your videos.
মেম মই ভিডিঅ'টো নকৰোঁ নেকি?
ঠিক আছে বাৰু। Okay, your exam is coming soon. And so this week will be the last week. From next week, it will be just study leave anyway. Today is 7th. Okay, your exam will start from the 7th. Before that, we're supposed to have a second progress also. So most probably it will be on Saturday, second progress. We have to discuss first, then we will decide. But previously it was like that on 12 there will be a second progress. Okay, your final presentation means project with the external exam will be most probably on 30th June 30. Okay, you have time, so your exam will be over by 22nd, I guess. So after that you will have some time to prepare your progress thesis, your project thesis, then prepare for your